Welcome back to the Wellness League podcast with your host Ella. And today, my friend is Jolien. Jolien is a CrossFit athlete, owner of the Movement Project Adelaide, and one very strong girl. I met Jolien back when I was training CrossFit, and I always remember lifting near her and watching her even take the boys for a run for their money when it came to the big lifts. So, shall we jump in? All right, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, first one. Who are you?
My name is Jolien, and I run a gym. Yeah.
Just one big strong girl who runs a gym.
Yeah. You could probably refer to me as the smiling assassin, as many of my people do.
Yeah.
Many of my members and former PT clients.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good one. All right. So, what's your earliest memory of being fit?
It's funny. Like I said, I was just listening to your last one on the
Yeah.
way here, and that was a question in that one as well. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, I don't remember because I remember feeling fit. And then, my life would advance and progress, and I would try different things. Like I used to do the Les Mills stuff, a normal gym. And then I thought I was fit.
Yeah.
And because I'd come from swimming, I was half right at swimming, but I never felt very fit.
Yeah.
I struggled with asthma, which wasn't even discovered until I really got into the Les Mills stuff.
Okay.
Because I started seeing a sports doctor for a completely unrelated reason. And he put me on the bike and let me breathe. So maybe 11, 12.
Yep.
I struggled to breathe when I was swimming. It's like every
Okay.
competition, I was like, I just feel like I can do better than this. And it's just not there.
Yeah.
And my mom took me to lung doctors, multiple ones. And they would just sit me down, have me breathe and be like, oh no, your lung capacity is fine. But I'm like, yeah, but I don't have this issue when I'm sitting. And, at that age, it's hard at this age being taken seriously by a doctor.
Of course.
At that age, not a chance. So this sports doctor, years later, I must have been 19, 20 at least. He put me on a bike. I don't know why he did that, because it wasn't related to what I was there for.
Yeah.
But it's just probably part of his general, intake test. And he goes, oh, you have exercise-induced asthma. Here's a puffer.
Oh.
And, I'm not using it anymore. I've sort of grown over it, but...
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely didn't feel fit when I was swimming, and that probably had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
And
What age did you start swimming? Was this from a young age?
yeah, so I was about 9 when I started, so relatively late to start your childhood sport.
Yep.
But I don't know what I did until then. At some stage, my parents made me pick a sport, and I always enjoyed when we went on holidays and there was a pool. I would spend the whole day in the pool. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think they tried other things with me before swimming, and then they just gave up and let me pick something. And then by that time I was 9 and I picked swimming and I enjoyed swimming.
Yeah.
Probably better at it now, knowing just going back, and this is sort of what my answer to the question boils down to, is your life progresses and your view on fitness and what you know to be the right thing and the right way to feel.
Yeah.
And the right way to move, that changes.
Of course, yeah.
So
Once
now-
you learn about your body and learn about health and wellness and fitness more, obviously your thoughts and enjoyments change.
Yeah. Obviously enjoyments change, but also your knowledge and going back. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I thought I was fit when I was doing Les Mills stuff, and then I started CrossFit. And then, I started competing in CrossFit, and I thought I was fit then, but I still
Yeah.
wasn't as fit as more recently when I'm doing some other things. And
Yeah.
I'm just feeling more fast in my body. I'm just moving very smoothly
Yes.
recently, just also because I'm doing a very well-rounded program, having all those
nice.
accessory things that you don't necessarily have in traditional CrossFit gyms.
Yeah. That's honestly the dream, though, to be moving well.
Yeah.
It's so hard to
yeah.
find that sweet spot.
Yeah, my knees are hurting a bit today and yesterday, but other than that, I'm generally pretty quick to be able to start moving.
Yeah. So we met training CrossFit, obviously, together.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. When did you start CrossFit and how far did you get with it?
So I started that I started doing Les Mills things very
Yeah.
almost every day after I had a breakup.
Yeah.
I had a high school boyfriend. We saw each other every day, and then when we broke up at the end of high school, at the end of year 12, I was like, what do I do with my time? So I'd been going casually to the gym, and I did enjoy it. So I started going more often. And 2 of my friends from there opened the first CrossFit gym in my hometown.
Oh, cool.
And they're like, oh yeah, come try it out. So like tried, and my very first session was a complex of a knees to elbow, toes to bar pull up.
Oh, God.
And I learned the very hard way to never do dishes or anything like that right before a workout with that kind of grip volume.
Yeah.
I had 4 open wounds.
Oh, God.
And when they had healed, I went back. And I was like, I signed up for like a 10-visit pass. I was like, because I still enjoying the Les Mills stuff and like the normal gym stuff I was doing around it. And I was like, it's just, something to switch it up. I think the 10-visit pass lasted me like 2.5 to 3 weeks. And then I signed up.
Yeah, how good.
And then, yeah, from there, left Holland, did a stint in the US, did CrossFit there.
Where did you train? Where were you living?
I was living in LA.
Okay.
And I was actually training, and this was so, like, in hindsight, such bad timing, because I was training out of CrossFit South Bay.
Right.
And the one in Hermosa Beach is where all the athletes went.
Oh, my God.
When the games were still in Carson, so before they moved to Madison. And I got there, like, late August.
Yeah.
So they'd all gone by then.
Oh.
And I left there in March. So like...
just after the open, or mid-open.
Yeah. Oh, I think... Yeah, just after the open, I reckon I left. Yeah, it must have been the end of March, because I remember doing the whole open there and, yeah, competing against some, like, friends from back home. And
wow.
we had Friday night lights, and they had Friday night lights. Obviously, their Friday nights lights were earlier because of time zones. So, yeah, I always had their scores to be, like... I remember my then partner, who I just got together with, had like the first workout. So this was 16.1, which like chest to bars, overhead lunges, burpees over the bar and back. Like I think it was a 20-minute AMRAP. And I got to his score at 16 minutes. And I had 4 more minutes to put rounds on him. And it was like the best feeling. I think that was my first... And that was my first open as well.
Wow.
But yeah, so I didn't get to see any of the athletes, but I followed them obviously on Instagram and everything. So like, I think the games were still there that year.
Yeah.
Like later that year. And I saw all the pictures. Like Annie Thor's daughter. Everybody was just training at that gym because they were one of the closest, like, decent named CrossFit gyms. And like, they had 2 locations and the other one was a bit bigger. Like, a lot of the athletes would go there every year.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, oh, I missed out. But yeah, it was a great time. Like, I learned a lot there also about nutrition.
Yep.
That helped a lot because I was doing CrossFit every day and I wasn't really, like, noticing anything. So I actually lost a fair bit of weight while I was there just from learning.
Yep.
And then came back to Holland, ate my weight in sushi. Because my ex was the skinniest person imaginable, if not for eating constantly.
Yeah.
So he grew a bit over the course of our relationship and like put on weight and muscle, but I put on weight too. And then had about a year back in Holland struggling before coming to Australia. And yeah, I was competing in Holland in CrossFit and everything, and I was doing all right, but still like in CrossFit, like the more you weigh, like the harder it is to do pull-ups and everything, all those things. And
then you're the strongest in all the lifts.
Yeah.
It's so complicated.
Yes. But like I've noticed over the years that losing weight and getting leaner doesn't necessarily affect your lifting performance. So like I've always been strong to start with. And then the first couple of months in Australia, I also, went back on doing like the right things in terms of eating and everything. And I think that's roughly when I got to like my top in CrossFit in terms of like CrossFit performance. Again, not fitness. Like I still feel like I'm fitter now than I was then, and just also just more generally more rounded and resilient and stuff.
When was this? So when did you move to Australia?
Like for the one of the first month, 2017. So February 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. And then sort of by the end of that year, I did a qualifier for the Aussie Throwdown.
Yes.
It doesn't exist anymore. I think the guy who was organizing it moved to Canada or something.
Oh, okay. There's like similar down under events and stuff.
Yeah. So the down under is a lot bigger. Like that's almost a sectional, but or a semi-final. But yeah, this was also like a national one. So I did the qualifier, went there to compete in January 2018, and came third, and I actually won money.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, that was probably, and then I was really fit and like.
Were you competing against any athletes that are still around now?
Yeah, there's actually one girl, and I wasn't competing against her.
She's the one from Melbourne who owns a gym just out of Geelong.
She's from New Zealand though, and she's gone to the games.
I know who you're talking about.
Like, she's a bigger girl.
Yes. She owns CrossFit at Wayside. Laura Clifton.
Yes. Anyways, she was back then. So this was start of 2018. So she's been to the games since. I think she's been on a team since. She was in the intermediate category. I was in the advanced, so I didn't compete against her. She was a level lower then. Other than that, not too many people like that are known.
Yeah, now.
On this side of the country, maybe?
Yeah.
Like, there's one girl from near Sydney. Her name's Meg now Davis.
Okay.
And she's been team like a couple of times at semis. Yeah. I still see her, and she owns a gym there as well. Like, I still see them show up at semis and everything. She's had like 2 kids in between, and she's just right back up there.
Crazy. So is that the furthest you got in CrossFit, like the highest level?
I think so. Yeah, in terms of competing. Like, that year I wanted to do really well in the open, and the year before, then Mode Now Solid had a team.
Yep.
And I was hoping to, because I didn't qualify for the team in 2017 because I didn't move here before the start of the year.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Because technically,
you have to
I was
be in
the
your
second
location.
Female in the gym, so they were a team of 3.
Yeah.
I should have gone, but I didn't get to go because of,
the rules.
The rules. Stupid fucking rules. And then, so then 2018 wanted to try again, and I think more rules changed it to be a 2-person, like 2 females, 2 males instead of 3.
That's when the 14 came in, right?
Yeah.
I think that's when I started following it.
Yeah. So it was 6 first, and then it was 4.
Yes.
Meaning that there was a lot more gyms who had 2 strong males and females.
Correct, yeah.
That were qualifying ahead of us. So we really, we were doing really well in, the team rankings until sort of James's score and, I think a couple of other people.
So in the Soul team, who was in it? So you, James?
No, so James wasn't in the team.
Really?
So we didn't qualify in the end.
Oh, okay. But who was going up there with you?
I reckon it would have been Adam and Ben, because Harry would have gone individual. James would have gone individual. Simone.
Yes.
So it probably would have been me and Danny Senior.
Yes.
Yeah, on the female side of things. But then that never happened because there were so many other teams around the country who had 2 but not 3 strong people of each gender.
Yeah.
So it was much harder. We didn't qualify. After James and Harry's scores got sort of separated because they went individual.
Yes, right.
So the rules fucked me over again. And
bloody rules.
Stupid rules. And I think that year after they cancelled regionals anyways.
Oh,
There's something going on in 2019. They changed the layout of the season and everything, and sort of midway through that 2018 Open, I hurt my back as well. So that's sort of when my CrossFit sort of started going downhill. It took me almost a year for my back to fully get better, and it took a really long time.
So I always remember when I joined Seoul, it was June 2020 because I had just got my job coming out of COVID, and I always remember walking into Seoul and meeting you and being like, oh my God, I want to be as strong as her one day. I got close to you, but I could just never get the gymnastics side, which I wasn't bothered about because strength was always my thing. Yeah. But I always remember that.
It always will be for me as well. And after learning sort of what happened to my back, and again, it's you learn and grow, and right when I came back from having that injury, so I didn't do the 2019 Open, but then the 2020 Open was at the end of that year.
That's right. I think I had just joined and it all got moved around because of COVID. Yeah.
And now they've moved it back again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as the 2020 Open was the end of 2019, and I was doing well again, and I was fit, and I was doing jiu-jitsu, which was a lot of more cardio fitness, so that really helped with that. And the very first workout, I don't know where I went wrong, but it was a 10-round workout, 20.1, and I just went full send. And I had this girl there, her name's Ella May, I think.
There was another one, yeah.
So she was my judge, and she was very randomly my judge. But she kept yelling at me that entire workout, she goes, don't stop, don't slow down, keep going. And like, I didn't expect that from her.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that side of her. I just needed someone to judge because I randomly ended up doing that workout on a Monday morning because at times, I don't know, work, whatever it was. I don't know why, but it was a Monday morning. I had to do the workout. There's nobody else there. She was my judge. And she just kept yelling. I was like, shit, I have to keep going. And then this was when it was, you know, I was obviously here, but it was ranked on country.
Right.
I came 4th in the Netherlands on that workout.
No.
On the way home, because I drive a manual.
Yeah.
I had to put my car in neutral at the lights because my foot was shaking too much to hold the clutch. Like I had nothing.
I've had that before. Like, oh God.
I've had it since, but I had never.
Not to that level?
Just.
Do you remember what the workout was? So 10 rounds of...
I think it was 8 ground to overhead.
Yep.
And burpees over the bar. I think they were 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 20.1. Anyway.
It is like your perfect workout anyway, though. Like, as in the strength side.
It's a lot of burpees. Yeah, the ground to overhead, they were easy. Like, I snatched it, and I've done it since, and I clean and jerked it for whatever reason. But it was just having someone yelling at me the entire time.
So she really put the judge hat on then.
Yeah, she did, and I'm still surprised. But I came 4th in the country. And every time I tell someone, like, you know, Duncan.
Yep.
You know, end up in that open, coming 15th in the Netherlands.
No.
Which is probably, apart from obviously the Aussie Throwdown, probably my biggest achievement. Because it's like, and then you like have people like Duncan go, out of 15? And I'm like, no, out of thousands. Like, you know, there's still 18 million people in that country. Like, there's a fair few who do CrossFit.
Yes.
It's not as big there as it is here, but...
I think it's grown since the last couple of years, since Europe's become so big in CrossFit.
Yeah, I think so as well. Last couple of years, like, Australia has dropped down a little bit in terms of, like, also, like, what you see around Adelaide, a lot of gyms de-affiliating because...
it's so expensive.
It's expensive, but it's also, like, a lot of people just think the name CrossFit is scary.
Yeah.
I just see that, like, my gym backs up the CrossFit Ron. And I have members who, what we do is CrossFit Light. I don't know, it's functional fitness. Like, we don't do the gymnastic stuff, and we don't have barbells in workouts. Like, we have strength classes with barbells, but it's so similar.
Yeah.
But they're like, nah, there's a gym around the corner. That one's scary. And I'm like, but we do the same things.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I feel like it's just the way you teach it as well. If you if you know what you're teaching correctly.
That, and also, like, we're much more open, and, like, people just pick their own weight. There's no, like, prescribed weight or anything, but, like...
That is so nice. Yeah.
But, yeah, like, so that's probably, like, if it's, you know, very expensive to have a name that actually deters people from coming, why not de-affiliate? But,
so talking about your gym there, so when did you become a trainer?
I actually got my level 1 when I was still in LA.
Okay.
Did my level 2 back in Holland later that year. And so between LA and coming here, I'd finished my degree. So I actually have a degree in international business, which I don't really make much use of, other than I run a business.
Side. Yeah.
And so I came back and I had a job in market research with a company that I'd known for years because they'd come and done something at uni, and we had a little, like, made a presentation, like a case study or something. And my team had won it. We'd won the book about, like, how they approach branding and, like, engaging, like, marketing. And so they were sort of testing the effectiveness of their campaigns.
Yes.
So I was like, great. I actually ended up getting a job with them. And then the job was 5% statistics, 95% making it look nice in PowerPoint. And I like making things look nice, but the attention to detail as to whether a line is 100% straight really didn't, like, I just sat there all day and I was like, okay, this looks great. Send it over to my, like, supervisor, and he goes, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And it was like the worst two months of my life. Yeah. I lasted 2 months there and then I quit. Yeah. But while I was there, this was in a different city in Holland. There was a guy at the gym. I was training at this one gym, but then another gym closer to work and where I was actually living. We did, I think, a seminar or an athlete weekend, and I randomly told him I had my level 1, and he goes, oh, I'm looking for a coach. So I started coaching the Tuesday evening, and back then, I don't know why, but he didn't have, like, a set program. Yeah. He let me just make the workout for the week, which was really hard because I wasn't there every day, so I didn't know what the other workouts were. Yeah. And I was always afraid I'd double up and stuff. But like people loved it. Tuesday was the busiest night.
If that's not saying something about being a good trainer.
Yeah. And it's just, and I see that now as well with the gym. I see the passion that I put in. Like I really enjoy what I do.
Do you find a big difference between coaching like over in Holland versus Australia? Or is it like really similar?
Yeah, because it's, even like what I did here, even when I was coaching kickboxing, which has nothing to do with CrossFit, it's the same. The people rock up, there's a warm-up, you tell them what you're doing, you do it.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And,
is there Australia's very oversaturated with gyms. Like I found when I was in Europe, it wasn't that easy to find gyms. Do you know what I mean? Is it just not so much of a culture like it is here to be fit?
which is why I'm here.
Yeah,
right. I didn't fit in with the culture since I was 5.
Okay.
Also because it's like the weather's dreary. It's like the UK.
Yeah.
Everything happens indoors, and I'm a very much an outdoorsy person. I like the sun and vitamin D and being healthy and shit. So yeah, I never liked Holland, and yeah, like I can think of a few gyms around my city, which was a relatively small city, so.
But there wasn't one on like every corner like there is here.
No.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. And there was only one CrossFit gym, and they only started in 2015.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
And there's still only one CrossFit gym in that city. And, the next city over, which is like 20 minutes. So like it's a lot different there compared to here. Like I drove 45 minutes to get here. Yep. And we both live in Adelaide.
Yeah.
Or like the suburbs. Yep. Whereas 45 minutes in Holland gets you like 4 cities over. Right. So like if
there's just a city in between me and you.
Yeah, like there'd be 2. Yeah, there'd be 2 relatively larger cities in between in those 45 minutes that would have their own CrossFit gym. So yeah, you'd come across different gyms as you're driving through the country, but nobody does because you're going to go to the one in your city. Right.
Okay. Yeah. So you don't really have a choice here. There's like only really one.
Yeah.
One on every
but
corner.
Some of them are a further drive away. So it still is quite similar. Okay. Like, for me, when like a little while when I was coaching at Beachmode in Somerton Park, I was living in Glenelg, and I was still quite often training in the city when I wasn't coaching at all. Still mode then. Yeah, that was a 20-minute drive. Yeah. So like in Holland, in 20 minutes, you'll get to the next gym.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just different. But yeah, I can see how it's not as big a thing there as it is here.
Yeah.
But yeah, the coaching itself, like the people who did go, they want like, they hate it as they're doing it, but they do want to be there sort of thing. And they are and that's what I've noticed compared to like office jobs and everything else. Like people call you the smiling assassin, complain the whole time that they're dying and that you're trying to kill them, which, I'm not necessarily trying.
But we are.
They
don't need to know that, but.
And then at the end of the thing, you high five them and they say thank you.
Yeah, it's crazy, but so worth it. Like just seeing that result at the end. Yeah. With a smile on their face, and they all walk out happier than they walked in.
Yeah.
And so talking about the business, so you started your little business out of your garage here, and then
because that was sort of forced as well, because I was working at that kickboxing gym, which I sort of just worked at because it was, again, great fun. Coaching groups is great fun. It was a very high intensity like environment, and coaching was actually really like tiring then. Yeah. Because you had to run around and yell and scream the whole time, which is sure would like coaching at F45 is probably more like. Whereas now I just run around, like I walk around and I chat, but then it was like running and clapping, and like I'd get to the end of the week and I just spend the whole weekend in bed because I was dead.
Crazy.
And I loved working there. I didn't like working for my employer. And I definitely didn't like my pay. And then COVID happened and we got stood down. And I was part-time, so I got JobKeeper. One-on-one was always allowed. Yep. And I had just moved into my house. I had tried parking my car in my single car garage and realized that every time I tried to get out, I'd hit the door to the wall because I don't understand how you do it. I really don't, because it doesn't fit the car. Yeah. So I decided, okay, I'm going to have a garage gym.
It's so good.
Got some help, got really lucky. Someone was moving interstate, was selling their entire setup for like $1,500.
Oh, so
And
good. Because
a
gym
rig
equipment at
and
that time.
bars and plates and 2 boxes and dumbbells and kettlebells, and I still don't know how I managed to get that for that money.
And gym equipment at that time as well was going at like an all-time high because everybody wanted it.
That was right before.
Oh.
I bought it all like mid-Feb
Yep.
before everything happened.
Oh,
So I got my whole setup. As soon as gyms closed, I ordered the road bike online because the salt bike had sold out because people were just getting it. Like gyms were closing around the country. People were going for it. So salt bikes were sold out, and I bought a road bike, which is the heaviest. Have you done the Echo bike?
Yeah.
It's just worse.
Yeah.
It's just heavy and shit.
Is that why you're also always so good at it, so? Because you've been on a worse one.
No, it's because I spent 25 years of my life riding everywhere.
Okay, fair enough. That too.
Because in Holland you have to ride everywhere, which is funny because I listened to the other podcast just before, and it was about it taking 7 years to learn how to ride a bike, and I'm like, yeah, I had 25. Yeah, I think I'm good. That must be why I like the bike.
I think that's another thing, like saying the European culture is very much everybody rides, whereas in Australia that's just not a thing.
No, it's not, and it's because everything's so stretched out.
Yes.
Like, I had considered early in the week before I looked at where you lived, because I knew it was somewhere. I decided, I was like, oh, maybe I'll ride my bike, because I got a road bike recently.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually trying to get into doing some triathlons, because I used to swim.
Out. Here we go.
You know, so I got myself a road bike because I enjoy riding. I'd been riding Damien's bike.
So for half the listeners who are listening, we all train with Triathlete, and we're more than happy to have another member to come and train with us. The season is just about to start.
Might sign up for the last one of the Westlake series.
Oh yeah, they're always really good.
Yeah.
I started out there. I was looking back at my race photos the other day. I reckon I started late 2017, early 2018. Anyway, around then. But they're always such a good race because like the water's always chill because it's like a river.
Yeah.
Then the bike, just depending on the wind. Yeah. It's all flat, so it's always a good one.
Yeah.
The run's always horrible, but that's just because I hate running.
Same, which is why
I'd rather lift weights.
also that. Probably do a sprint.
Yeah.
Because I did City to Bay recently.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
And that's 12. Mm-hmm. But that's no swimming and biking beforehand,
Yeah, you just run off the adrenaline though. It doesn't really matter how far the run is, your legs just keep going.
Yeah, and I just I'm horrible at running. Like that was the first time in my life I'd ran more than 5Ks without stopping.
Yeah.
And I got to about 9, had to walk for a bit to get a water, and then finished the other 3.
Oh,
so I was
so
like,
good, though.
look, if I can do 12, I can probably
you'd be right.
after swimming and riding at least do 5, and I don't want to have to try and do 10 then. So that's obviously the next step up in terms of like triathlon distances. I'm like, start with the sprint.
And then you're coming to Busso next Perth with the rest of us.
Yeah, no.
It's only a half Ironman.
I'm good. Somebody suggested, because I like one of my, like on the gym wall, we have like, what's your goals for the year? And one of mine was do a challenging fitness event. So I ended up doing City to Bay because running for me is a big challenge.
Yes.
And I'm really proud of what I did. I also did a strongman comp last weekend. So much fun. And then there's stuff coming up tomorrow, which is I'm excited about because they've got a Highland Games come and try up in Highland Park. So one of the girls who competed last week with me at the strongman thing is sort of semi-hosting that, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, throw a big stick and a rock and, great fun.
And so from the garage gym, then owning your own gym, that was a big jump. How'd it happen?
Well, a lot of work. Yeah, so I sort of was forced into PTing at the garage when we got stood down. Then when gyms reopened, I actually didn't go back to the kickboxing gym because I was doing so well. I was like, stuff you taking half my pay. I'm just gonna, and did that for almost 3 years all up, including that COVID period. But about a year and a half in, I was like, we're getting so busy. Like, it's a single car garage. Like, I can only do one session. So maximum of 2 people with me. So like, I had 2-on-1s. I even had a couple of 3-on-1s, partly on the driveway and everything. The most popular times, like, early mornings and 5:30, 6:30 p.m. They were always taken. Like, I had to turn down so many people. I was like, I want to reach more people, and I enjoy this. So it's always been like something I wanted to do since I was like 18 and going to that Les Mills gym. Like, it was just such a great place to be. And I was like, it would be great. Like, I had these wild ideas of having a gym with a restaurant and healthy food and, but, not quite there yet, but we do have the gym now.
Yeah.
So needed more space. I wanted to help more people. It's always been something I wanted to do. And it just had to happen.
Yeah.
And it took a year and a half to find a suitable premises. So that was the biggest thing, is like once we found that, and like the council, and there's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
Because I had my PT business out of my garage, which was like half of my clients could walk there.
Yeah.
Most of them didn't, because they didn't want to walk home. But like I had people from the same street, like a couple houses down. So everybody was very local. So I had to look for something that was still local, so it wouldn't inconvenience them as much. Ended up a couple places around. There was always something. Like one of them was older. There was like, shower, council approval, and everything. And there's always something. And then I ended up stumbling upon some warehouses that were being built. And now I'm in one of those warehouses, and it's about a 3-minute drive from my house. So we stayed very local, and I have the absolute shortest commute.
That is the dream.
But the commute's still longer than when I was out of my garage.
But do you prefer now separating your business from your house and having that kind of, you being able to lock the door at the gym and then go home and it's kind of separate?
Yes and no. Like a lot of people ask me like, oh, how is it like, what's it like to have your house back? And I'm like, I'm never there.
Yeah.
Like I used to be in my house a lot more. And this was also like the first couple of months versus the sort of the more recent couple of months in the gym have been much different in my perception. So like the first months I was very stressed. I had maybe 3 hours in a day at home to myself, and I was just like always running. I had so much to do.
Yeah.
And now I have medication that makes me calm in my head, and now I feel like I have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
I know that's something that we're coming to later as well.
We are.
We'll go into more detail then, but yeah, so now I'm enjoying having my house because I, put different things in my garage, and Damien's moved in, so his stuff's in the garage, and there's our bikes in the garage, and like the house is a home now, and yes, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's still not fully separate because I am always working. So when I come home, if it's not late at night after evening classes, for which, there's just so little turnaround. Like I literally finish at 7:30 and I'm back there 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So like I go home, I have dinner, I watch an episode of my comfort series, and then I go to bed. Like that's it. So there's no time to work then, but like any time in between, or like after this when we're done, it's there's still plenty of time in the day, and I'm just gonna sit on the couch and work. Yeah. It's still not separated because I'm always
bringing
working.
your work home.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So this is a bit of a listener question, but it was quite a long one that I thought let's just bring it into the main part. So our mutual friend Sally dropped a good one, and I was like, this is too good. She's
this is you said this, I think, and
Yep.
I'm gonna get the mascot in.
She asked, you were quite open on your social media about your battles with your body image, particularly a couple of years ago. What steps did you take to make it possible towards a body acceptance?
Look, a part of it's CrossFit.
Yeah.
I have a tattoo of a dumbbell on my side because lifting weights, like going from the Les Mills stuff, and still not, like I was still in a bad place with my body then, and I was training every day and just trying to trash myself, trying to be skinny, and then starting CrossFit really like showed me the appreciation in what your body can do rather than what it looks like.
Yeah.
And it's also made me look a lot better. Like it's taught me so many things about training and nutrition, and I now feel like I look how I want to look, and my body can do what I want it to do. Like, I'm talking about doing a triathlon, and when I was doing the Les Mills, like I was doing body attack, which is just cardio every day.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of bloody running. Yeah, it's just like a learning thing and understanding what your body needs.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a cultural thing. Like in Holland especially, everybody just eats bread.
Okay. Like
it's
carbs.
So many carbs. And I even saw, and like this is again coming back to like being taken seriously by doctors. Like I was probably like 19, 18 or something. Going to my doctor, I was like, I just want to lose weight, and it's just like I just don't know what to do. And he sent me off to like the more sort of nutritionist person at the clinic. Like they weren't a formal dietitian, but they were sort of the nutrition person at the clinic.
Yeah.
And like she did something with me for a while, but it was still like a bit of portion control, but it was still bread. It was just all bread. And
talking about bread, what was your favorite type?
I actually don't know. At the moment, gluten-free because I realized my bowels don't like gluten. So,
Yeah, same here.
yeah, bread here is different too.
Yeah, it's over processed here.
I don't necessarily miss it that much. Yeah, maybe croissants. Yeah, but they also have gluten-free ones. I should. Anyways.
Anyway, back to that.
Yeah. No, and again, like it's another thing from the lifestyle. Like, here I eat salads and chicken and veg, and I barbecue meat, and my partner's Greek, and we eat all sorts of Greek food, and it's this most of it's gluten free and pretty low in carb because it's just meat and veg and feta, and it's so much better. So I did the thing with the nutrition person, and nothing really changed. Went back to the doctor, and he just goes, well, maybe you should just accept that your body is meant to look like it does.
Right.
And I'm like,
how do you react to that?
like, just anger? Like, I wasn't angry at him, but I was just in myself. I was just like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do, but no. Like, why would I need to accept this?
Was this when social media started coming in as well and playing a part in what you thought you wanted to be?
Not necessarily. No, I haven't really been affected by that too much.
Yeah, same.
It was more of I was bullied in school and everything sort of thing. Like, it was a lot younger. Like, the first moments of me not feeling happy in my body, I was probably like 10.
Okay.
And social media wasn't a thing then. Like, it was when I was 18, but it wasn't when I was 10.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd always been trying to starve myself, but never could because food is great.
And bread.
Yeah, so it's just CrossFit has taught me a lot of things and like learning about nutrition, and I've since done like nutrition qualifications. So I am legally allowed to call myself a nutritionist in Australia, which is a little bit of a hoops to jump through when you haven't done actual dietetics in uni, because I did international business when I could have done so many more valuable things.
Through research and learning more about your body is how you
and like between fueling it what it needs, which is in my case, my body just does better on higher fat.
So saying that, would you call that the sliding door moment in your life? Like, as in that doctor saying that is when you then took on to change something, or was there something that was bigger in your life that kind of made you change direction?
I don't know. Like, I have always, like I said, like it had been a struggle for me since like 11, 12. I think in terms of like body image and changing nutrition, I did change things before in Holland. I'm not sure if it was straight after the doctor, but it was probably closer to that I started eating less carbs and I just ate like meat and veg, but I was still eating like chunks of fruit. So I went to that's when I went to LA, and the coach there was like, I just asked about it. I think it was start of the year, New Year's resolutions, blah blah.
Yep.
And I'm like, like I'm training every day and I just don't see any changes. And then
you just weren't fueling properly then, as they call it now.
Look, I was eating really healthy. Like, I was cooking and, salads and everything, but I was probably eating like a rock melon a day. And fruit is great, but it's a lot of sugar. Yeah. Especially at those quantities. So just learning about macros, which never came up in school in Holland. Like the nutrition person, none of this ever came up. And just learning that my body just enjoys higher fats. Yep. Like peanut butter. It's great, So I don't miss the bread because fueling my body what it needs means I don't necessarily eat as much bread, but I do eat all the peanut butter I want. So
that's a good deal.
It's a really good deal. And
Well, that answered my next question of the importance of nutrition on training. So you just cleaned that one up.
Like, I say this quite often as well. And even in like my when I was doing nutrition coaching online and in my PT business, and there's this quote from, I think, Kate Moss from the 80s that she's been criticized for so much, which is quite fair because, probably sent a lot of people into an eating disorder. And like the amount of people I speak to, like girls like our age who have had an eating disorder in their life, 8 out of 10. Yeah. Like, it's ridiculous. And we don't always talk about it. And I tried to starve myself. I didn't have the willpower to do so. Otherwise, I would have been anorectic. I also don't like puking. But yeah, I had phases in my life where I stuffed my face with laxative just to make it go straight through. Probably didn't help my bowels and the gluten and everything. But yeah, like, it's ridiculous. But what she said and the essence of it, I still wholeheartedly agree with. She said, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. Has nothing to do with your question.
But it was good.
Yeah, but like, so like in terms of losing weight, that's when you get to where you want to be. And now that I am happy in my skin, I'm like, I wouldn't jeopardize that for the world.
Yeah.
And in terms of that, it means you can't outtrain a bad diet.
Well, very
That
much.
was the quote I was going for when we got back there. But yeah, so you can do whatever you want in terms of training, but if you're eating shit, like training is, you know, if you're an elite athlete, it's a fair few hours of your day, but like at our level, it's maybe 1 or 2, you know, depending what you do. And then you have 22 hours remaining. Some of them you're sleeping, but you know, what you do in those other hours matters so much more, really. Yeah, so I still like, before I came here, I was meal prepping for next week.
Yeah.
You know, and it's good to be prepared. You know what you're doing. You feel better. And yeah, it works. Like, it's at this stage of my life, not the end goal, but there's so much consistency underlying that I can enjoy my life, and like there's more family functions, you know, dating someone with ethnic inheritance. There's a lot of family functions and a lot of treats, and definitely like a couple of years ago when I was really training for CrossFit, I wouldn't have, but now I just allow myself those, and I know that what I do the rest of the week is good enough to keep me, you know, feeling fit and healthy and happy when I look in the mirror.
Oh, how good. All right, let's go back to the busy mind. Let's have a chat about this. So, where did it all begin?
When I was 5? No.
Yeah.
I have always been like hard with sitting still. And I remember all through high school and uni, I would study with the TV on.
Yep.
Because if I didn't have that little bit of distraction in the background, like at all times, I would sit there and 15 minutes later, I'd be like, nah, gotta do something else.
I'm like that, but I'm like with music or something on in the background at all times.
Yeah. Music doesn't always do it for me because different level of involvement. But
Well, so like at work now, it's all podcasts. Like I literally just listen to podcasts all day. That's like a voice talking in the background. Focus
See,
so much
whereas
better.
if I was to do that, I'd get too focused on the voice that I wouldn't be able to get anything done. But whereas, you know, when I sit, I watch the most simplest shows. Like I watch Criminal Minds. Yeah. Just because if you kind of miss parts of the episode, they still catch the bad guy in the end. So like it really doesn't matter if you zone out of that and into what you're doing for about 15 minutes.
Yeah. And then so when did you realize something was up?
Look, I've kind of always known, but it's not always been an issue.
Yes.
Like I've gotten away with it so much of my life. Like the studying in front of the TV, I still did really good in school and in uni, like I got through it easily. It was never hard. Like learning was never hard for me. So I got through that easily and I got away with it. And there's so many things in my life. Like, you know, when you go research online, adult ADHD symptoms, a big one is like that you lose your shit everywhere, like your keys and stuff. And I'm like, I don't, but they are also always in the same spot.
Yeah.
Like they have 2 spots where they can be, where I put them when I come into the house. And I know if they're not there, I'm lost. Yeah. But so it's just the things that you do that I've gotten away with it for so long that it was never an issue until like
you
recently.
Put things in place to help yourself without even knowing that they were helping that much.
Like to-do lists and everything.
Oh my God, this is so funny. So I'm actually not diagnosed, but thinking of doing it. But the last couple of years, I'm like, I've always known my brain was very different to everybody else and how it functioned. And I'm just like, oh yeah, like I know that's a thing. And then it started getting spoken about. I think Rusciano started speaking about it maybe 2-3 years ago now. And when she started saying some of the stuff, like the symptoms of it, I was like, oh, more people have this problem.
Yeah, and it's much more common these days to get
so like the
diagnosed.
key thing, like I have, there's one spot in my house that they go in, and if they're not there, I'm like, oh no. Like But
So it's the little things that you do where you're like, I don't even think that I realized that my brain was different.
Yeah, I've known that. Yeah, I reckon I've known that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
That I knew that I always thought differently.
Yeah. And I always was that like high energy person. So like my friends have been jokingly saying it for decades.
Really?
Yeah. Like, oh, you must have ADHD because I just couldn't like I was always going, not sitting still, like even through uni, like I was doing uni, I was working, I was part of a political organization, I was going to the gym every day.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah,
it was
like that's very
just-
similar. Like when I met you, I was working 3 different jobs while studying, and and like sitting through uni lectures, I literally couldn't sit still, and I had to like write in the back of my book to take in the information. But no, I wasn't writing down what they were saying. I was literally like doodling on the back page.
yeah. So like it was just never really an issue until more recently, like, you know, PTing. Yeah, your main job, like my hand-eye coordination isn't great. So like your main jobs as a PT are counting people's reps and high-fiving. I suck at high-fiving because hand-eye coordination, but like I'm the dog from Up.
Yeah.
Like we were in my driveway, there was actual dogs walking past, and I love dogs. So like I'd be like 1, 2, 3, dog. 7? No idea. And like it just got worse, and I just got more and more in my head, and you know, mental health plan, anxiety, antidepressants. Later, you know, they helped, but not the full story. And I knew then that there was more going on, and it has been like I did this when I was doing jiu-jitsu. I had a few like sort of like mental burnout where you get to the end of the day and you're just so tired you're crying.
Yeah, I've had that.
And like it would have been a great session of training, and like I would have loved it. And because I had very few not so good jiu-jitsu sessions. Like I always loved it. I love wrestling. Yeah. And I'd get to the end, I'd just sit in my car crying because I was so exhausted. I was like, and that's when I realized like my brain is just not keeping up with what I'm asking of it.
Yeah. And I've tried explaining that burnout so many times. I had it this week, and I'm just like, it's so hard to explain to people how you feel because you have no symptoms from the outside.
Yeah.
But mentally, like, I just want to switch off and come home and, like, take the dog for a walk and then cook dinner and just go to bed. Like, that's all I feel like doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, and I'm lucky that, you know, I have dogs and it's easy, and I come home and I just lay down and I do nothing, and I'm not also the most social butterfly. So that is, like, when I was working at the kickboxing gym, like, it was probably affecting me more then than I ever realized. But it was such a high energy environment that I'd spend the whole weekend in bed. Yeah. And looking back at it, I was like, yeah, like that makes sense because I was just burnt out from the week. And then I just, you know, that's what I did. Like that reset me, and then I was okay. And then, you know, there was PT and building the gym, and everything started ramping up, and there was more to do, and I just couldn't keep up. And
like your body and your mind just like keep going, and then there's a part of your brain that just like switches off and is like, you really need to stop right now, or else we're gonna fall in a hole.
Oh yeah, I'd go for months. Then I'd have one day where I didn't get off the couch. Yeah, I
just don't have time to do that. But like,
And I did then. I think I had a few like on the sort of easier days in terms of PT, which then was like Thursday. I think I had a couple of early ones, and then a big gap, and then some later afternoon ones. And yeah, I do the early ones and then moved to the couch, and I was supposed to go train. I'm like, oh, I'm here watching movies. Like, I did nothing.
I do that occasionally on a weekend. Like, you literally have to block out like 3 or 4 hours just to be alone. Yeah. And it's just like, I feel so bad trying to tell people that and trying to explain that as much as people want to help you in life. That's another thing. Like, this morning, I had like went to boot camp and stuff. I came home and I literally was on this cleaning around page for about 2.5, 3 hours. I mowed the lawns. At the same time, I had the washing on, the robot vacuum going, and then I cleaned the microwave, and then I cleaned the porch and the alfresco.
And you have to do it all yourself.
No, yeah. And if somebody was saying to me, oh, come over and help you, I was like, no, leave me alone. I'm like on a roll. Yeah. And then I'll come in, have a shower, and like sit down for an hour because I literally was so stuffed. Yeah. Yeah. But that's so hard to explain to other people, and they just don't understand what it's like. But got everything done.
Yeah. And like last Friday I had a big day like that where I had a lot of errands. I was driving around. I went to Bunnings. I had to go to the pharmacy pharmacy, Bunnings, like they were in a circle. Like I'd planned it out. Like the most efficient circle.
Oh, you have to.
Pharmacy, Bunnings, Costco. Woolies. Yeah. And then my last stop was the gas station to exchange the gas bottle for my barbecue. And the girl in the shop, literally around the corner, I had carried this empty gas bottle all around Adelaide with me. And I didn't want to do it first because it was hot. And I was like, I don't want a full gas bottle in my car because you can exchange those at Bunnings. Yeah. I could have done that at stop 1. But I didn't because I didn't want the full gas bottle in my car. Yeah. And so I got to this last stop, and the girl behind the counter goes, I'm the only one. I can't help you because I can't leave the store. And I just that was the last thing on my list for that day. I lost it.
Yep.
I just felt so defeated. I was like, now I feel like a failure because I've done like 6 out of the 7 things on my to-dos, and that last thing I couldn't get done. And then I got home and like I already almost crying in the car, like 2-minute drive from the gas station. Back home, started unloading the groceries, and then I bought this big like fucker of a value pack of Nutri-Grain for Damien. And it was about an inch too high for the pantry shelf.
Oh, shove
I
that
sat
thing
down
in.
and I cried on the kitchen floor. 5 minutes later, he walks in, he goes, "Are you okay?" And I had a meltdown just because, not because the thing didn't fit, but that was just like,
It was just one,
the
it like
last
built
little
up.
straw of like, I was just exhausted from the day and running around and trying to get everything done within a time frame as well, because I had to get back to the gym and coach more sessions.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a nutrition chat that I ended up luckily getting cancelled, but like, yeah, like just such a rush and day, and just all builds up, and then just one thing goes wrong and you're like,
Yeah.
done.
But like that one thing could be something so small, then something, another little small thing, another little small thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like a bucket of water just getting put in. And then once it just gets that little rim at the top, and then it just goes. Like you pour a little bit more in there and you're like,
And then
gone.
it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. It breaks, gone.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Yeah, so
What
like,
do you think makes it worse? Obviously, like being busy.
being busy, not sleeping well, obviously not recognizing it.
Yes.
So like if I have a couple of busy days, even though that I have like meds, and it's just been a bloody game changer.
Yeah, so worth getting them.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So you went to the GP then. How did you get tested? Because that's such a big thing at the moment. Everybody's talking about that stage.
Yeah, and it's
so expensive.
It's expensive. I paid like $500 because it was more of a telehealth situation.
Right.
So it wasn't as bad, but it was a long wait. Like I remember going to the GP. This was like September when I got referred. Then sent my referral into this company. They literally like everything on there. They just like, you have to email it, blah blah blah. We'll get back to you in like 2 weeks, just about the referral. And then you can make your first appointment. And then I didn't know that first appointment wasn't the actual psychiatrist. It was a nurse who did a questionnaire. So this was in September. My appointment with the nurse was in February. And then at the end of that, she goes, I thought, like, I had read something about, you know, being connected to the psychiatrist. So I was like, okay, just intake with the nurse, and then I get to chat to the guy, and then we're done. No. She was like, okay, let's schedule your psychiatrist appointment. June.
Oh.
End of June.
Yeah.
So like nine months at least it took. Yeah.
Right.
And like a bit of hassle in between. So it wasn't the most pleasant experience, and especially for an organization who deals with people with mental health issues. Like it wasn't just ADHD, like they're general psychiatry as well. So they deal with all sorts of mental health issues.
Yep.
And they stuffed me around like crazy. Like my first appointment got rescheduled by a couple of days, and I was just like, you know, I had gotten so far in how far I could push my brain. I was just hanging for it. I was like, I just need to talk to someone, and I need to get this process. And yeah, someone got sick, got rescheduled. And because I had waited 4 months, I was like, when they were like, oh yeah, it's canceled, we'll reschedule. I was like, this is going to take another couple months, right? So I ended up only being like a couple of days. But, you know, this stress about like, fuck, this is actually not happening. And then at the end of the nurse appointment, she goes, oh, you have to get some like blood tests and everything done, because they actually, depends where you go as well, but like some of them, which is probably smart, they test your heart and some blood values to make sure that you are actually physically okay to get medicated.
Oh, okay.
Because they can affect your heart rate. So I had to do an ECG.
Yep.
That kind of stuff, and blood pressure, and like my doctor still monitors those things, that they like the blood pressure anyways, that they go okay. So she goes, oh yeah, you have to do that at our clinic, which they had in the city, and she's like, oh, your first appointment, that was bulk billed. Cool, no worries. And she texted me all that information after that chat. And obviously I was like, oh my God, June. So I booked an appointment, and then for the clinic, couple of days before it was supposed to be, I got a text saying, oh, this has been changed to a telehealth. And I'm like, dude, you have to take my blood. How are you going to do that with telehealth? So I rang them. I was like, just won't happen. She goes, oh yeah, well look, you can come in, like the doctor can talk to you and ask you a few questions. And then once you've seen the psychiatrist, you can come in and get your bloods done. And then you can get medicated. I'm like, get your prescription. I'm like, that's going to take even longer. No. So like this was the end of March, so still well before the end of June. And she goes, oh yeah, or I can reschedule you. And then, so that appointment was 1st of May, still well before the psychiatrist, but like rescheduling again. The psychiatrist appointment probably was the only thing that didn't actually get rescheduled. And here's me like with my life and the stress, and this was the first couple months of the gym. I was like, you can't be serious that you have clients with mental health issues and you're stuffing them around like that. Like, I have to be the smart person to be like, no, I was told this was bulk billed, so I don't actually have to pay for this.
Yeah.
And chase that up myself.
Yeah. With the Royal Commission that came out this weekend, they did a bit of research into like being diagnosed with ADHD and how hard it is. And nobody actually knew that it's actually this hard. This is part of the reason I'm holding off on getting diagnosed because honestly, it's too hard.
It is hard, like in hindsight.
Like I went to see a doctor a couple of months ago and she's like, look, if you want to know, go and get tested. But if you don't want medication, it's not worth it because it's too expensive to go and do it.
No.
And I'm like, well, how do I know if I want the medication or not if I don't get diagnosed? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like...
Yeah. See, whereas I have since, like, those times of jiu-jitsu where I just got to the end of the day, like, my brain can't keep up. And despite all the bad, situations with various doctors over the course of my life, I still believe in modern medicine. So I was like, there has to be something that can help here. Like, my brain is just not keeping up, and we have to be. And there was something that could help me. So I always knew, like, I was already seeing, like, because they say first step in managing ADHD is diet and lifestyle. Then there comes psychologist, which I'm also already seeing. So, like, the psychiatrist instantly goes, here's meds. Like, he had already from the questionnaire with the nurse, and then, so that was telehealth, so I had a Zoom chat with him. He'd already made up his mind. Everything we spoke about was just general mental health and other psychiatry, like, related questions that had nothing to do with ADHD.
So on the questionnaire, what kind of questions were there? Do you remember what they were asking?
It was a long one. Because I was obviously, like, I was hanging for that appointment because I just felt like something needed to change in my life because I felt like I was swimming upstream.
Yeah, very much the same.
Yeah, so I saw this and, you talked about people about it and your phone's always listening. So I had this pop-up of like, are you like preparing for an ADHD assessment? Get this little like workbook. And
I follow this on Instagram.
It was a questionnaire. 99% was what she asked. Yeah. So it was all sorts of like, obviously like regarding the different facets of ADHD and the symptoms of, not everybody is the same with how they show.
Which type did you end up getting diagnosed with, do you know?
They didn't even say.
Oh.
No, that wasn't in the report because I read the report because I asked the company for the report because obviously they send it to your doctor, but I'm like, no, I want to read this.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, it didn't say that, which I'm still a bit annoyed about, but like, because that's irrelevant information as well.
Of course, yeah.
Because also it's, ADHD is genetic. So like, I want to be able to,
see where it came from.
No, not necessarily see where it came from because that's a whole nother onion to peel.
Well, you kind of know. Like, I feel like if you know that you've got the ADHD and you think far enough back, you kind of know which parent it comes from.
Oh yeah, look, but there's
ADHD is commonly mistaken for many other things. Yeah. Or it can come along attached to many other things.
Yeah, because I was, I had a mental health plan. I was diagnosed with anxiety and I had antidepressants, And
I just didn't go as far as the antidepressants because I was like, I just knew the rest was happening. But I was like, oh, well, should be right.
Yeah. And I got to a stage where I just wasn't coping. And the stuff that I got was actually something I researched to be what I needed. Yeah. And ends up being on the non-stimulant ADHD medication list as well. So
have you read the book The Year I Met My Brain by Matilda Bosley? Get onto it. It's on Spotify. I've been listening to it as an audiobook. And it's about how she got diagnosed and everything. It's so relevant. Very interesting to hear other people talk about it. And the whole way through that, like listening to the stuff she was saying, I was like, oh my God, other people deal with it like me. Yeah. And like, so do you feel better now being medicated? Yeah.
And not so much the symptoms that led me to get tested. Yeah. But more so.
Do you feel like I've heard that once you become medicated, it's almost like the world's so much clearer? Or like
clearer, but just like I'm not swimming upstream anymore. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
You're in the tube going down the stream with everybody else.
yeah. You know, I've so much time.
Yeah.
Like I have time for hobbies, and haven't had a hobby since I was like, I don't know, 15. Like I was always doing things.
What's your current hyperfixation? What's something that you're like doing? Something? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, probably gardening.
You know what?
Yeah,
Mine's podcasting, and I'm 4.5 months in, and we're still going strong.
Very good, very good.
That's how this whole thing actually started.
I definitely think jiu-jitsu was a hyperfixation because I started that and I went full throttle.
Well, that's why CrossFit was with me. Well, so I've always been fit, but throughout my like years of being fit, I've hyperfixated on different types of fitness, which is like where CrossFit came in for the 2 years, and now it's kind of like gone, but triathlon's come back.
Yeah.
And it's like gone into the swimming side, but the swimming stuff's literally lasted maybe almost 2 years now. And I just love it so much.
Yeah, and like some things stick because as you grow and learn, you realize what you enjoy doing, and things stick. But like that's another one of those like hindsight things where when I was younger, like I had a lot more hyperfixations. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
and
it's just something that you like intensely enjoy doing for a long period of time.
All of a sudden, done.
Yeah,
and
literally. Like you shut the door, and then the next one opens.
One of my good friends from back in Holland. I was going to say childhood friend, but I didn't meet him until uni. But he would say plot twist. All of a sudden, I'd be completely out of one thing and into the next thing.
Yeah,
you go, oh, plot twist again, and I'm like, looking back at it now, I'm like, yeah. Look, I struggled a lot of things then, and when I got diagnosed, the only person who didn't believe it was my mum.
Yeah.
And then later, like I saw a few like articles in Dutch come past on my Facebook feed, and I sent a few things to her, and she goes, "Oh, look, I am so sorry I didn't get you help when you were younger."
But no,
because
the thing is,
this actually like reading like those things that she was reading, she was like, I did see that, but she'd never considered it because I wasn't wobbling on my chair.
Yeah, but 20 years ago, ADHD was known as being that crazy boy who runs around the class, who sits on one of those chairs.
The wobbly chair. It's the wobbly chair kid, you know? Yeah. But it really isn't just the wobbly chair kid. So, like, we've grown a lot, So,
the research has grown in 20 years' time, and that's why not everybody's getting diagnosed at the moment, but the research has finally caught up with us that it's making sense, and the symptoms are now showing that it does happen in women too.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, it's not just hysteria. But like, and it presents differently in everybody. And like in some people, you don't see it because it's like you've managed to cope with it for so many years. But it just
we've mastered it so well as well.
Yeah, and it just ends up building up in years and years of not giving yourself the credit that you should be getting. Like I always felt like I wasn't doing enough, and I was just constantly going and going until I couldn't, and I had one of those burnouts, and I still felt like I wasn't doing enough.
No, I feel exactly the same. And then you have the people around me being like, or around yourself, being like, wow, you've achieved so much by your age. And I'm like, you know what? I really feel like I haven't done anything. Yeah. I feel like I look at all my friends I went to school with, I say this a lot, but they're married and have kids, and I'm like, I own a house, I have a business, I have a career, but I still just don't feel like I've achieved enough. Like, I feel like having a family and kids is so much more important. But I've done so much.
And that's just yet another cultural thing that,
that. But I mean, like, it's also like I've just done other things that are way bigger. Like, they don't have the house, they don't have, like the business on the side and their career.
Yeah, I think the business is a big thing, and you're like, building your career.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, those people, they do the general, like, blueprint of life of, like, go to uni, get a job, grow a little bit in your job, but, like, find someone, get married, buy a house, have kids. Like,
we just done it another way around.
Gets you, that sort of roughly gets you there by, like, age 30, depending on how lucky you are in the Adelaide man drought. By the time you hit 30, you have, unless you get really unlucky, you've gotten through those stages.
Yeah.
But if you decide to do anything different with your life, like move halfway across the world and then spend 2 years in the other country purely devoted to the guy you moved there with because he was stressed and was still stressed, even though I did everything. So, you live, you learn and grow. And I definitely felt for a couple of years that I was behind in like where I wanted to be. And now that I have the gym at 30, like now 31, like I was 30 when we opened, and yeah, that's like I'm okay with that.
And you're happy where you are now. So you feel like you've achieved where you've always wanted to be.
Yeah. I've achieved where I wanted to be. I sort of the family and kids probably a little bit lagging still, but then
you still got 10 years. You'll be like, do you know what I mean? As in the kids side before you become geriatric.
Yeah. And I'm also again already feeling rushed. So I literally went through egg freezing a couple months ago.
Do you want to talk about that?
We can definitely talk about that. Because I have never, and you probably didn't know this because you picked a lot of things from my Instagram that I like openly talk about.
Or from what I knew as you as a person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But like I haven't really been talking about this too much, and it's simply because I haven't had time. Like I had that strongman comp last weekend, and I got to like Wednesday, still hadn't posted any footage of it because I had no time. And then one of my members comes in, she goes, "How did you go on the weekend?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, like I won." And she goes, "Oh, I didn't see anything like on your socials, so I wasn't sure if it was like a don't go there sort of subject. If that was a bad sign that I had." I'm like, "No, I've just been flat out, man. I have had no time." And yeah, I really also probably don't know where to start in terms of like showcasing sort of that process and what it was like. And it all happened really quick as well. And
so back to the doctor stage.
yeah. So like I just feel like so where I am at now, just having started the business, and obviously it all needs to grow, and it's going to take a couple of years. And Damien's doing an apprenticeship where it's going to be another couple of years before he really gets to like grow into his career and just also be for myself as well, just running a new business, like for both of us to be financially stable enough to think we can provide for kids. Like we're a couple of years away, and that's like probably a little bit later than I wanted to. Like my parents, and this is also a fitness thing, but my parents had me relatively late. My mom was 35, my dad was 43. They're a fair bit apart. And they could just never keep up. And like I was an only child, so I also I had no siblings to go on theme park ride with. You know, they didn't want to do that. So I think I don't want to get to that age before I have kids. For that reason. But then again, I'm much different, and I will be fit enough because I'm going to keep doing what I do for the rest of my life.
Correct.
Because now that I am happy in my skin, I don't want to go back there. Yeah, so I was just like, a bit hesitant about like having a couple more years to wait. So I was like, it's been showing up more and more. And do you follow Sedge?
Yeah, she was talking about it.
She was talking
Didn't
about
she go
it.
on the ABC and talk about it on...
Yeah, she did too.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that was more like, I think what I most recently saw of her, she was really happy that she did it, and she actually got a very good result as well. As did I. I was really lucky, and it just, I think, another reason why...
It's kind of safeguarding yourself for the future.
Yeah. It's a good, like, the doctor has described it as like, it's a good fail-safe.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so what like I saw from her or from the ABC things, it was like it's getting pushed a bit much on especially people that are too young for it, and fair, 100% fair. From like more recent posts, because I think she's coming back to Adelaide.
Yeah.
Like it shows more of like, I got a good result and I'm happy I did that. And I'm much the same. Mm-hmm. It was a wild process of like hormones and injecting.
And injections. How did you feel going through those, and how many?
Oh, that's fine. I'm great with needles. Like I've had so many blood tests done in my life to figure out what's wrong with my brain. Yeah. And there's other things that we discovered along the way. That means that every now and again I get IVs because my body doesn't absorb zinc very well.
Okay.
And I don't want to get deficient, so I get IVs every once in a while. So I'm good with needles. Mm-hmm. I can just sit there, put them in. Like look at them putting them in.
No, I'd faint.
So like the little insulin needles, that no worries. Yep. That was fine. And I was like, I didn't get super hormonal either. Mm-hmm. I got really like, you get a trigger injection a couple of 36 hours prior to your collection.
Yep.
I got so sick.
Really?
Vomiting, worst headache I've had in my life. Like
a hormone injection, is that why?
Yeah, like I don't know like what exactly went wrong there, because it's not like headaches and nausea, vomiting are a side effect of that injection, but hopefully not to that extent. I was ready to go to hospital.
Wow.
And you're not supposed to have all sorts of painkillers, and because of everything and part of that is also mostly the IVF side of the process, where if they go and put something back in, you can't have had ibuprofen, you can only have had paracetamol.
Okay.
scientific mumbo jumbo that wasn't necessarily relevant to me, so I didn't dive too far into it. But I think it affects your uterine lining if you've had ibuprofen.
Okay.
So
Right.
for those who go and get collected and then get them put back in a couple of days later, you can't have had ibuprofen.
Yes.
So you can only get paracetamol if your head is feeling
fact.
like it's about to explode.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun fact. Yeah, very interesting process. Got really bloated. They they took out 11 eggs and froze 10. One of them didn't make it. I don't know. He didn't go very well. And then, yeah, like the wickedest part of the process was after, like obviously like vomiting in the middle of the night wasn't great, but I had also never had anesthetic, so that part of it was interesting.
Okay, yeah.
So like I'd never done sleepies.
Did you get a lollipop at the end?
No, I did not. I did get snacks.
Okay.
You do get snacks when you're
That's
in
right.
recovery. Yeah, you also pay for that, so because it's not a cheap process.
Yeah, but definitely worth it. in the
Yeah,
couple
look, it
years.
will be in the long run. I'm pretty sure it will. The weeks after, because I had grown so many eggs, my follicles were huge. Cramping. Like I had days where I couldn't stand up straight.
Wow.
And I have never had bad periods in my life. So it just makes you think, like, this is also why I haven't really spoken about me getting eggs collected, because it's such a drip in the ocean compared to, like, I did this because I want to, like, feel safe in my future. But, like, the amount of people that have to do it because they can't conceive naturally.
Yeah, or for medical problems. Or,
And other things. And, like, the amount of people that have that immense pain that I felt after every month because they have endo and doctors are refusing to get them the proper tests and everything. It's just wicked. Like I had, there was a Indian lady came out of surgery after me and she was a bit older. So, there wouldn't have been egg freezing. Because like I said, the first bit's the same as with IVF. Like they got 2 eggs out of her.
Yeah.
All of that trouble. And they got 2 eggs out. And like, out of my 11, one of them didn't make it. So if she had both, then at least they had something to put back in. But it's just
It's so crazy, isn't it?
like that whole thing. Like I'm happy I was in a position where I could do that and like look after my future because I have other priorities at the moment, which I think where a lot of like athletes like Sedge are doing it as well, because you're just at this level where you want to keep competing a little bit longer and you really can't put your body through that. And have that time off.
I think as well that there's so much more research into that again. Like,
they're
finally putting research into women's health, really.
And but like it's such a, in comparison to what people struggle with on a monthly or daily basis.
It's crazy, hey?
Like,
And it's like such a silent thing because you can't really show the effects on the outside, like ADHD.
It's again, and it's, and a lot of it leads to, again, people being on antidepressants just to cover up that they're in pain 3 weeks out of the month.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with being depressed. It's just
crazy.
Yeah.
Life of being a woman, let's just call it that.
It is wicked. It's absolutely wicked. That's why we need doggos, don't we, Sadie?
That was my next question. What's the importance of owning a sausage dog or 2?
Well, the importance of owning 2 is
double the love.
We have to support the veterinary industry because 2 are so much more expensive than 1.
Okay, that answers my question. Not to get a second one anytime soon.
Look, it's worth every penny.
How old are yours now?
It's their birthdays next week. They'll be 3 and 6.
That's so
Yeah,
exciting.
they're getting a ball pit. So hopefully they don't listen to this before
Wednesday, it will come out Wednesday.
Yeah, so I'm
6
just not going to let them listen to it because they're not supposed. It's a surprise. Yeah,
Sure.
I'm sure they've caught on to it by now, but because I've been like sneakily dragging big like Kmart's like bags of balls through the house.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's her second birthday on the 20th of December. So yes, we're coming up to it too.
But yeah, so they're 3 years apart. And I thought I was ready for another puppy when I got Luca, and I was not ready for this puppy. This puppy has eaten my walls.
No.
Like, literally has chomped away at the plasterboard in the hallway and in the bedroom. Like, there's just, like, little, like, round marks of, it's wicked.
Is it second child syndrome? Was your first one like that?
No. Chipper had separation anxiety, so I took him everywhere.
Yeah.
He was a stressful puppy, and then Luca was a stressful puppy in a completely different way. And now they come with me, and but
they live the best gym life.
they live their best gym life. Like quite often we walk there because it's so it takes me about 15 minutes to walk them there. That's how close I am. And they get pets and they get to bark.
As much as they like.
They get to hang out with mom actually a lot more than when I was PTing, because I was as much as I was at home, I was never in the same room as them. So now, like, I, get to walk past and pet them every now and again. They sit in the corner, have their own beanbag. Like, they're just incredibly
They
spoiled.
live their best
They're
dog
living
life.
their best life, and they are just the cutest together. Like, they are inseparable. And yeah, it was worth every penny getting a second one and just having that joy in your life. Like, when you've had one of those days where you get to the end of the day and you just like have nothing left to give.
Yeah.
To
having a sausage cuddle is the best.
Yeah, like.
And they always know when something's up and they come and put their nose on you and make you feel better.
Oh yeah, especially like Luca will just. He is a very clingy puppy. Like, I still call him puppy even though he's 3 next week. I think he's still in his head 6 months. He has incredible energy and just, if he could live in my sweater, he would.
So good.
And yeah, if I'm crying, he will like jump on me.
Oh, that's so good.
Without fail.
So what are you consuming at the moment? What's your favourite podcast, book, TV show to watch?
So this was an interesting one. Not too much at the moment.
Yeah.
Because between gym and music and fans, and I'm getting overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So I'm just noticing that.
What's your go-to song to put on in the gym? Like your pump it up song.
Goes back and forth. Like, I've had a throwback playlist this week.
Okay.
Which is like throwback, like, bit of like Fall Out Boy in there as well, but more so like the dance things from when, when I was in uni sort of times, like Usher and that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, other than music in the gym, like, and driving here, because it was a fair drive, I did put on a podcast to listen to, but because I'm only driving for like 3 minutes at a time, or, maybe 10 minutes to go to the shops, or a little bit more, if anything, I need quiet.
Yeah.
So I've been driving my car in silence for months.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Silent driving.
Yeah.
How good. I do that every once in a while.
I need silent time. So when I'm in the gym by myself and doing like vacuuming or anything that's outside of class times, I don't have the music on. And it's just to make sure that my brain actually makes it through the end of the week.
Yeah.
Because I know that when I get too tired and I don't want to be there anymore, then I'm not the best I can be for my members. So like,
I couldn't agree more.
Like, all of what I'm consuming is silence, just to,
Yeah. And then who are you following on social media at the moment that you're loving?
One that I'm loving, like, it's generally like it's a genre of exercise, like, videos, and just like, and that's something I do actually consume, is just like other people's content of new exercises or, ideas and variations and, knowledge on, because that's something I can do when I'm chill at home scrolling on my phone.
Yeah.
And I at least have semi-useful things to look at. But there's one guy, I think his name is Jean-Paul, and he does a lot of funny warm-up ideas.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're great. And like, it's just, I get a lot of things like real sent to me by members about like, the best way to do burpees is to
never do them.
Never do them, or go to the ground and lay there crying in the fetal position. And, the best way to do Bulgarian split squats is with your head down so people can't see you cry, and like all those things. And it's hilarious. But yeah, there is also some useful content in there of like warm-up ideas, generally for partner workouts and stuff, and just like,
How good. My favourite part to finish every podcast with a guest now is 5 fast questions. And so you'll pick a number between 1 and 20, and I'll say the question, and it's the first thing that comes to your mind. You just have to spit it out. Okay, so 5 of those. What's your first number?
6.
Okay, number 6. On your Instagram page, what are you looking at? You just said
it.
Yeah.
Workout
videos.
Look, workout videos, but sausage dogs. There's so many. So good.
I agree. Everybody, I look at them all and send them to everybody, and everybody sends them back.
Yeah. And then they get them in their feed, and they,
Yeah. And your next number?
9.
Okay, number 9. What's your spirit animal?
Look, probably not sausage dog.
Yeah.
I'd say dolphin.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm a water creature.
Nice.
I like, yeah.
Next number?
4.
4 is something you could look forward to in the future. First thing that comes to your mind. You can't think it.
Kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that.
14.
Okay, number 14. If you go back and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
Don't worry about what the kids say in school. Yeah, and I've been telling younger people this. It's
I
like,
love that.
once you get past high school,
Everything changes.
nobody cares.
Yeah.
Like, the bullying and everything, like, those people, like, long forgotten. Like, if someone was to say those things to me now,
You'd punch him.
well, that, or I would just simply not care and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, cool, sure. But, like, you care so much about what others people think until you get to the age where you just simply can't give a fuck.
Yeah.
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 Nice. All right, last one.
18.
Okay, number 18 is if you could change one thing in the world, what would it be? Anything.
War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Very relevant
Yeah.
topic, I guess. And yeah, it's just
It's
something we don't need.
And we're actually recording on Remembrance Day as well.
Oh,
Conveniently.
yeah.
So
Yeah, look, I'm not from here. I'm not necessarily...
that's a whole world thing. It's about World War One.
Okay.
Anzac Day is the one where it's Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
So.
Anzac Day is, yeah. Like, I'm not sure if Holland does much for Remembrance Day. Like, we
Yeah.
have our World War II sort of Remembrance
Yeah.
Day, which is in May when sort of the war ended.
Something like that. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because
In
we
Holland?
celebrate it in like the end of April, so it'd probably be around the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're not celebrating, but yeah, we have our day. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on and
You're
chatting
very
about
welcome. Thanks for having me.
all things fitness, ADHD, and eggs.
Yes, all things health and fitness.
and
Yeah.
women. It was kind of nice that we haven't really had that opportunity to talk about any of those topics with anybody else yet. So it was kind of nice to
And I'm
have that
sure
on.
that the next person you ask is going to have, like,
a completely
not
different.
similar stories, but, like, a lot of things to say as well. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure every female, like, so many people that I talk to that have female health issues. And
of different types and
yeah, different types. It's always...
Yeah.
We just hold it in because we think we're just supposed to deal with it on the inside and then not let it out. But, like, as soon as you start talking to people, like,
Yeah.
there you can expect floods. Yeah.
That's what women are good for, right? Well, thanks, and we'll tag all your business and everything on the social media. But do you want to quickly plug them before we run away?
Yeah, so my gym that we've been talking about, which is probably the funnest gym in Adelaide, and if you want to come and fact check that, you can very well come. We're in North Plimpton. It's called The Movement Project, or you can find us mostly on, like, through, like, Google or Instagram as Movement Project Adelaide. In North Plimpton, functional fitness.
Not CrossFit, but better.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
based on CrossFit, but yes, it is better because it does.
Because you're the trainer.
In part, yes, but also because there's a few things in there that
Yes, yeah.
CrossFit sort of lacks. Like, I love it, and it's been not just a hyperfixation for me,
Yep.
but, like, there's a few things that, because, we cater for general population. They don't need to do kipping pull-ups.
Yep.
They don't need to do big weight barbell snatches in workouts. Like, they're things that are most likely to get you injured. And if you're competing in CrossFit, then obviously you need to do those things. And you have also plenty of time to do accessories that allow you the strength to do those. Whereas your average person who just wants to get a good workout in doesn't necessarily need to learn those things. Doesn't need to do those things or risk being injured from them. So that's why we don't do them. But we do, wall balls and kettlebell swings and box
All the
jumps
fun
and
stuff.
burpees and running and heaps of, like, sled pushing and stuff as well.
Love
Like,
that. Well,
just moving things.
great. Well, tag it all in there. And yeah, thanks heaps for coming.
You're very welcome.
Cheers. Wow, what an insightful episode that was, taking, your small business from your garage and taking it into a large warehouse setup like Jolien has. Very eye-opening to listen to how Jolien spoke about ADHD and her egg freezing. So I hope you found this episode as interesting as I did chatting to Jolien. And so now it's time for record time. So my record for the week, I know I've been going on a lot about the audiobooks I keep listening to at the moment, but they're just so good. So this week I was listening to Then There Was Her, written by Sophie Keisha. She's actually the one who narrates it if you listen to it on Spotify, or else you can buy her book if you prefer to read it yourself. But it was such a good read about her life and and just how she like rode the up and downs of the waves that were kind of dealt to her. Yeah, good book. I'll tag it in the show notes as well if you want to go and listen or read that. Highly recommend. And talking about recommendations, please like and share this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and now Apple Podcasts. If you love this episode, also please tell a friend because, we love sharing good things with our friends. Even, this is a little podcast, so why not share it to your stories and tell us what you think of this one? Help this little podcast grow. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to one of our previous 15 episodes that we have done before this one. You might even learn something about some of the amazing guests that we've had, or even some of the interesting topics we've been talking about. But if you stuck around for all 15 episodes, it's a big thank you, and I'm so glad you're still here with me. So enjoy the rest of your day, have a good week, and see you next Wednesday. Bye!